Cardiovascular Institute of the South is celebrating 40 years of delivering healthcare to our patients and communities. Founded by Dr. Craig Walker in 1983 and guided by a mission to provide the highest quality cardiovascular care available, CIS has pioneered hundreds of firsts to improve outcomes for cardiovascular diseases. Through new technology, virtual care, outpatient procedures, and national growth, CIS is improving lives and leading the way for advanced care and innovation.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. I'm going to spend a little time, actually 3 segments, talking about Lafourche Parish, all things Lafourche Parish with the parish president, Mr. Archie Chaisson. So, Archie, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely, Harry.
Thought we'd wrap up the end of the year. I mean, it seems like it's been a good year. I mean, throw in our annual hurricane visit, you know. But it seems like, and I was talking to Travis Terrio about the HPD, but it seems like, man, government wasn't great. You know, we go through COVID. We've had all kind of issues with obviously hurricanes, but it seems like we all kind of turning a corner now. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, we are, Harry. And I was thinking about that, you know, on the drive over. You know, it was a solid year, I guess, in the government world for us. It was kind of a year of continued just rebuilding from Ida, and I know we've talked about this before, but you know, I was always the guy that would watch TV after Katrina and those 3, 5, 10, 15-year anniversaries and think about, you know, the millions and millions of dollars that was pledged to New Orleans and how it was still a complete hole in the ground. And here we are, you know, just, you know, through 3.5 years of post-Ida work, and the millions and millions and millions of dollars have been pledged to Lafourche, Terrebonne, and the other impacted parishes, and we're still sluggish, we're still struggling. But this was really a good year for us, right? Got through a lot of the recreational projects, which was tough. You know, we had a couple seasons where kids weren't really playing baseball like they should, and working through those issues. But we got those recreational projects pretty well just about buttoned up. You know, a lot of metal poles, a lot of new LED lights, a lot of dugout repairs, a lot of field repairs. I think the cornerstone for us on the recreational projects this year was the new rodeo arena and ag complex in Raceland. They used it a portion of it this weekend. They had their poultry show, and egg kind of cook-off contest.
Oh, nice.
So they used a little part of it. The big test for the facility is going to come January 18th when the Lafourche Parish Livestock Show happens. Right. And then shortly after that, we're working with the Roping Club to set their first kind of large rodeo for the year. So, you know, it'll be a good kind of welcome back for those kids who have gone to Assumption. Sure. It'll be a good welcome back for the Roping Club that's done some smaller events because of the issues surrounding the complex. But we're going to have a brand new $4 million facility there. It'll be really right for the
awesome
opening.
For that area. That's a great tradition of cowboying and you know, farming, all that stuff in the Raceland area for sure. So I've seen a lot of good cowboys come out of that area. Let me get back to what you had said and follow up a little bit about that. You're talking about there's still a hole and this, to get the FEMA funds, you have to match those things. You have to have, you know, you always have your ducks in a row. It's not like a
New Orleans.
Pick on New Orleans, but yeah, they have funds they've never been able to spend, billions that they have. So when you talk about there's still a hole here, what are you talking about? What do you need to do to follow up to use those? You
know, luckily for us, and I give a lot of credit to the council for believing in what we were trying to do with this. You know, in the weeks and months after Hurricane Ida, we realized, you know, we had $200 million in public infrastructure damage. We were going to have to figure out a way to start to move this stuff, knowing that the FEMA program is really a reimbursement process, right? You have to spend that money up front, follow all their guidelines, and then hope in 6, 8, 10 months after that check has been cut, you start to see some money back. So we worked with our bonding attorneys and our bonding groups, and went out and borrowed $120 million to start to, you know, get engineers working, get architects working, get people moving to start to work through this. And we were able to do that. So the whole for us is now, you know, we've gotten through those recreational projects. Our buildings are really starting to move forward now. The last big hurdle for us is going to be our drainage infrastructure, all those forced drainage pump stations, and some of that. And the real struggle with that is, you know, FEMA is not used to a parish-run drainage system, right? You think about after Katrina, you know, the Corps came in and built a huge system around New Orleans and Jefferson, and you have the Flood Protection Authority East and West, and the HISRA system around New Orleans. And FEMA just said, okay, the Corps did it. You know, the federal government moved their money around internally. They're not used to looking at Lafourche Parish with 86 pump stations going, but you got a guy that comes run this when it rains, and it was built in the 60s, and there may be a pile cracked underneath it, and you got to tear the whole thing apart to put it back together. So they're struggling with that. They're not used to that. And I know that, President Bergeron talked a lot about this, that they're having some of the same issues here. Also, so some of because of the work I think President Dove did, a lot of their stuff's a little newer than ours, but we've been at this for a very long time. So that is kind of the last linchpin for us. So it's fighting through that drainage infrastructure, and then really working with our group to get the money back so we can start to pay off that bond, right? The first payment is going to be due next year. We owe that bank $18 million come January, right? So kind of doing some budget maneuvers for us to take the money we have gotten back that we've kind of just put in a bank account and sat there, so we can start to pay those yearly bond payments back. So that's going to be the biggest struggle for us as we kind of wrap up, in that 2025 year, where all the rec projects will be done, all the building projects will hopefully be done. The biggest one is the Galliana Government Complex that just kind of kicked off in South Lafourche. That's a new library, a new government complex, a new Head Start facility for our kiddos down there. The building was fine. It's just all the interior work, from air conditions to electrical to flooring to everything else. So that one will wrap up hopefully, midsummer 2025. And then after that, it's a complete focus on our drainage infrastructure.
When you look at Lafourche Parish, and you got a lower Lafourche, obviously we got almost 100 miles, from top to bottom of Lafourche, a little different area than maybe Terrebonne. But are you guys losing population? Obviously the north seems like it's really healthy. Yeah. A lot of people moving there to work on the river and commute to New Orleans and that kind of stuff. But you seen a migration? We
have, and you see it after every hurricane. It was very substantial after Hurricane Ida, just because of the devastation in South Lafourche. And I think that's why you've seen the growth in northern Terrebonne, northern Lafourche, because those people are shifting. Some of them are completely gone, right? They went to other parishes or went to other states, remote work opportunities. They weren't tied to anything, so they left. But we have seen it, and for the first time, for us, the real kicker was redistricting this last year with the new council districts.
Oh, that's right.
Council districts 8 and 9 have always historically been below the intercoastal, and for the first time now, those districts kind of run up. Councilwoman Chaisson's district comes north of the intercoastal into La Rose now, and we've seen those districts around Thibodaux, Chackbay, Bayou Blue begin to shrink, because that's where we're seeing that population growth. Yeah,
there's a lot of folks. Like I said, I mean, when you look at Thibodaux, all the housing that's built up there, and like I said, I think a lot of those guys probably run, commute and work somewhere.
They do.
And working from home, so it's a higher elevation for sure. No, definitely an issue for all of South Louisiana. So we can talk about 2.0 down the road too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, let's take a break. We'll be right back with Parish President of Lafourche Parish, Archie Chaisson, right here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. At the end of the year, you have the best pictures. You go through the top 10, the best hits that were on the radio. We're doing the same thing with Lafourche Parish, with Archie Chaisson. So we're going through the top things. Let's go through the top budget items that you've had. So I'm joking, but how's your budget? And that's government world, right? You always got to worry about taxes coming in and how you're going to afford stuff. And how are we doing on the budget?
Look, we're doing okay. This year was a reassessment year for all the parishes across the state. And we saw a little bit of a kind of a decline in the side of things. A lot of it has to do with the way we tax things, right? So, South Louisiana, we tax offshore vessels just like we do your houses. And the marine industry is getting more strategic. They're getting more efficient. We're doing things with, one boat that they used to do with 3, so a lot of them aren't moving. They've shifted a lot of them around for different purposes. So, a little bit of a decline still, but overall, we're a little over $200 million budget, which is, when you think back to where it used to be, that's, a significant amount of growth. Which is a good thing. We're seeing houses going up. We're seeing, tax revenue. Part of that's due to inflation, but part of that's just due to spending, right? People are spending more across the way. So sales taxes are up, and they have been up since Ida, really. So overall, really good. We have, worked with the council throughout the summer to kind of really put it together, kind of figure out what their wish lists were for their district. And they all have, differing priorities based on, what their landscape looks like, right? Francine over the summer kind of changed the game for a couple of councilmen. Mr. Mark Perk, who represents kind of the city of Thibodaux proper, but has some outlying areas around the west side and east sides of town. Those areas got hit by a substantial amount of rain and opened up some drainage issues for us. So he wants to direct some money into some of those neighborhoods to go in there and pull out some undersized culverts and fix some of the drainage issues we saw there. Councilman Broomfield, who's new to us as well, that represents kind of that western portion of Thibodaux, the minority district. His big focus is working on the new recreation center around Heroes Park. That was kind of a partner project with former Councilman Jerry Jones. We're actually going to name the facility after his brother, Scuffy Jones, or Scuffy Jones. So that'll have a Head Start component to it too. We'll merge our 3 Head Starts from Thibodaux into one bigger facility. And there'll be a community center attached to it, so we can do some better things in that community. And you look at South Lafourche, and drainage is always a big thing for them, right? They're encapsulated inside of that levee district. We got to get the water out to the levee district's pump so they can get it out. So a lot of work going on down there, trying to keep up with the road system. And then kind of Central Lafourche is always kind of an enamor of both, right? We bounce between recreation projects and drainage projects, working on the kind of the big kind of rebuild of the community center in Lockport and that expansion project to do some new ball fields back there, where Councilman Otan has been one of his big priorities. And then Councilman Araby in the middle is always really focused on, again, the rodeo arena was a big championship project for him. But we've worked with him the last couple of years. The big project that's going to hit the street for us in January is the new Butch Hill pump station. It'll go kind of behind the hospital, St. Anne Hospital in Raceland. We'll merge 2 pump stations into one very large one. And for us, it's kind of the biggest one we've ever done. It'll be about $22 million by the time it's all said and done.
Wow.
Parish has funded all the engineering and design. And then we have some parish dollars, working with Chairman Dove over at CPRA, and then of course, Representative Fontenot and Representative Rogeron and Capital Outlay with Senator Fazy to pump in another $7 or $10 million into that program as well. So that's kind of going to be our second term linchpin project, right?
Right.
We did a lot of cool stuff the first go around, even through COVID and the hurricane, but this is going to be the one that I'm really going to be proud to hang my hat on, that we were able to really engineer and design a pump station that'll hopefully be the model for what we do across Lafourche as we start to combine some of these smaller stations into some bigger forced drainage areas.
Yeah, that's real big. Now, I was going to save the new administration for next time. We'll still do that. But when you're talking about state's new administration and the way they've changed the tax laws, how do you see that affecting local?
Yeah, that was a fun 2-week battle in Baton Rouge, right? We spent, it worked out really closely. Guy Cormier, who is their executive director of Police Jury Association, put together a small group of us, a few police jury presidents, a few parish presidents, and really put together a working group. And there were several mornings we do this on a battle rhythm at 8 o'clock every morning before he walked to the Capitol. But I think some of it's going to be okay, right? When you look at what it does for personal and corporate income taxes, we'll all see mostly a reduction there, so put a little bit more money in our pocket. There was some changes to the severance tax law, so how they tax oil and gas royalties and activities. So that seems to be a tremendous gain for our region, right? Because we have a vast majority of the production. So we're probably going to see somewhere about a $5 or $6 million a year increase, because they removed the cap on that, or they will remove the cap. It's be part of the constitutional amendment votes in March. But I think the stickler really comes in on what they did with sales tax. We went from 0.45%, and nobody thought that was ever going to get renewed, so they dropped it to 4%, we're back where it was, and then we wound up at 5%. Right. So there's a clean penny now on that that doesn't have a whole lot of exemptions on it. That's going to increase the sales tax revenue. There's some talk about putting some of that money aside for kind of a local government revenue stabilization fund. So if a parish wants to exempt things like inventory tax, right?
Right, that's what I was thinking. Boats and inventory warehousing.
Yeah. So if we, boats are a little bit tricky for us because it's so much money. Right. But on the inventory side, if we exempt that, you may have a person that wants to build a warehouse and put a whole bunch of stuff in it, right? It may make sense for them to go be in St. Charles or one of those other parishes because they're a little bit closer to the river. But if we don't tax whatever you put inside of it and we're only taxing the building, it may make us a little bit more lucrative on that Highway 90 corridor, Highway 20 corridor, something like that. So that's kind of the things we're working on, looking at what that revenue stabilization fund is going to look like. So if we do have some of these smaller taxing districts that, we cut their revenue basically, right? If we exempt it, right, how are we going to make them whole, knowing that we're kind of playing long game with this and saying, all right, over the next 5-6 years, our job is to go kind of find some stuff that'll make you whole again, or if not make you grow. But in the meantime, here's a couple $100,000 a year that you would have lost to maintain your fire department, your trucks, your rating, your water district, whatever the little district, recreation districts, whatever they are. So, the biggest hits on inventory are really the parish and the school board, and a little bit to the sheriff. So we'll have to, those three groups are really the ones who make the decision, but it's going to be a collective decision across all the taxing bodies, because we don't want to hurt anybody at the end of the day, right? We want to be able to provide fire, EMS, police, all the fun services that we do across the parish, but you have to think long game with this and what Lafourche is going to look like in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We want to compete with Florida and Texas and Nashville and Tennessee. So yeah, we got to make a change up on that side. But
No doubt.
yeah, we can't leave the small communities behind. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're spending our last segment with Archie Chaisson, Lafourche Parish President. And we talked a little bit, I wanted to talk about new administration. So we talked a little bit about Jeff Landry, but we also got a new administration in Washington. It'll be, I guess, January 20th or whatever.
20th, yeah.
That'll start. How do you feel that'll affect our area? And starting with, we've been talking about FEMA and risk rating 2.0 under the other administration. Do we think we'll see any changes or get any kind of relief from that?
Yeah, I think it's regardless of, political stances, right? I think the Trump presidency opens up a lot of doors for us. And he's tapped Kristi Noem to be the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, which encompasses FEMA. And one of Kristi's best friends is Governor Jeff Landry, right? So when it comes to, what things can come out of FEMA, there's been a lot of talk about, Congressman Graves being tapped to head FEMA, right, in the news. And I don't know, you've seen a lot of those speculations come out from a whole lot of people across the board of who's going to take over what agency. But, I would venture to guess that if Governor Landry's talking to Governor Noem, one of the top 10 things on his list is how do we fix this flood insurance stuff? And, it's very easy for her to go up there with the right FEMA administrator. David Merstad, who was the assistant administrator in FEMA or in charge of the NFIP program, recently retired. And I know FEMA was looking to replace him. I don't know if that happens now before the inauguration or after. I'd venture to guess it happens after. But if there was ever a chance for somebody to walk in the room on day one and sign an executive order on administrative policy, halting risk rating 2.0 until you could figure all this stuff out, now's the time to do it.
Right.
It's also, I think, when you look at Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Scalise being in D.C. in their positions, I think if there was ever going to be a congressional fix and a long-term reauthorization of the National Flood Insurance Program, now's the time to make that happen too, especially with the Republican Senate. And irregardless, I think of what happens with Cassidy's race or whatever, I think you have some true champions in D.C. now that can really make a difference. But a lot of that has to start within DHS and FEMA, and I think that's a talking point for Governor Landry now. But from a Trump presidency, when you look at what's going to happen to Department of Interior, how do we get back to stable lease sales in the Gulf, which for us is key, right? A lot of the majors, the Chevrons, the Shells, and even some of the independents who are drilling out there, without a stable leasing platform, without saying, yep, we're getting back to the 2 lease sales a year like the law says we should, with a 5-year offshore drilling plan that was never completed under the Biden administration because of all his green policies and just overall attack on the energy industry. I think that opens up some doors for us as well. Fouchon is blowing and going. What Chet and the Port Commission down there is
they're
doing,
anticipating.
They are.
Right,
they are.
yeah.
They're doing some good things. They've made a lot of continuing strides. And look, even as we think about offshore oil and gas production ramping up, still looking to the future of offshore wind. There's a contingent coming to Lafourche tomorrow that does wind. There's a group of us going to Avondale to look at some stuff that's happening out there on Thursday and doing some cross trading there. Again, ports setting themselves up to be the hub for kind of Gulf wind as it comes alive. There was an article that came out, I guess, late last week about companies really showing interest in the Gulf again. There's going to be a lease sale in 2026, late 2025, 26 from BOEM for another block of offshore wind stuff. The group of us that went to Germany this summer to meet with their delegation about offshore wind tactics, both from a how do you do it supply chain to workforce development, but then kind of the political side of it, really made some strides to figure out how to really look at it. And you can laugh at a windmill, you can, but look, if it gets us 10, 15 years of work, puts boats back to work, puts our people back to work, puts manufacturing facilities, and allows us to recruit and retain some people here in Lafourche, then it's going to be worth it for me to do all this legwork up front.
Supply boats, whether they're going out to an oil rig or going out to a windmill, is a supply boat working,
Exactly.
So,
and then a lot of the jackup boats that we have, in South Lafourche went up to Block Island and have done a lot of that work. So putting that expertise to use in your own backyard and letting that boat or that jackup barge run on a Fouchon and run to the Gulf instead of running the Fouchon all the way around Florida up to the East Coast makes a huge difference, although that's probably a little bit more profitable for them. But to go up to the East Coast, but putting that expertise back to work is going to be huge for us. So I think, expanding that opportunity, and I haven't heard the Trump administration or the transition team talk a lot about, offshore wind. Again, I think a lot of people, when they hear offshore wind, when they hear solar, they automatically tie it to
they're not against
the
it.
Green New Deal, right? No, it's got to be in all. It's got to be in all of the above, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be in all.
We'll
of the
take
above.
it all, right? And we're not saying it's bad. It's very good, but we'll take it all. But the previous administration seemed like they thought one side was bad, right?
That's
Energy, and now with AI and all these new things coming out where they need data and need process, and they're going to need energy for that too. Now they're talking going back to nuclear as well. So there's all kind of energy sources that we all need to kind of bring together. But I do think that if Trump, with his tariffs and all that, people worry about inflation. The best way to do that would be to lower prices by the lowering fuel costs, which kind of started this whole thing.
That's right. And look, you look at some of those tariffs, and I know, a lot of questions yesterday at this press conference, and we talked about that during the break about what those tariffs were going to look like. But look, that may spur some more homegrown manufacturing, right? Which I think is what he's really trying to do.
And he's using it as a weapon. Anybody, you don't do it for us, we won't do it for you.
That's right.
It's not going to be automatic.
That's right. So it'll be, come January 20th, it's very weird. Washington Mardi Gras is the same week as the inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of us go up there for those meetings on the Hill and the networking that we do up there. So I'm sure it'll be a little bit more raucous than normal, right? The week that, Trump will get inaugurated on the Monday or the Tuesday, whatever day it is. And then a lot of us go up there Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then we're there through Friday. So it's gonna be good to watch. It'll be good to see, Majority Leader Scalise and Speaker Johnson up there as well. All the parish
guys in high power positions.
We do. All the parish presidents look forward to meet with those two guys, especially the last several years. And then, as busy as Speaker Johnson is, for him to take half an hour, 45 minutes out of his day to come sit with 20 parish presidents and really talk about our priorities and what we're seeing on the ground here in Louisiana and what he could do for us really means a lot. So look, I think we got an exciting year in 2025, Harry. A huge thank you to our council and our employees, and also to you guys for letting us come on every day. Just wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to everybody that works for Lafourche Parish and the job you guys do. Great 24, a better 25.
No doubt.
Thanks a lot. All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.